Hey everyone, Sarah Pacaro. This video is for you if you feel like you choose partners who are bad for you. Yes, you there, raising your hand in the back like this, not wanting anyone to see because that was me after the second narcissistic relationship. Uh, Not the second, but the second one that I chose to be in. And that's what this video today is all about, why we choose partners that are so bad for us. Why do we do that? I mean, we're not happy, we're not treated well, yet we choose them and we stay and we choose to stay. But why? Why do we choose partners that are so bad for us, that treat us horribly, that are narcissistic, and we see the traits and all the tendencies that are there? Why do we choose people like that for us, right? We'd rather have a good partner, a healthy partner, a loving partner, but we choose partners that are bad for us. So this video today is going to be all about that. And remember, if you are looking to completely transform yourself and to change and heal from all of these things, and these things that you will hear about in more detail in this video today and all the other videos that I have, please schedule a time for us to connect, a free discovery call, and we can talk about how we can possibly work together one-on-one to do just that, to change rapidly and heal from all these things. So let's get into it. Why do we choose partners that are so bad for us? Great question, right? And if you notice that your relationship resume is not looking too hot, it's full of a bunch of failed relationships, you may have pondered this question a time or two. Because theoretically and logically, we know that we're free to choose the people that we are in relationships with. We're free to choose partners. We're free to choose our lovers. Love is love, right? And the person that we want to be in a relationship with, right? We want to enjoy spending time with them. We want to grow together. And for the most part, we are free to choose that person or that partner, right? There are some contingencies and some constraints, right? Depending on the country that you live in, perhaps. Most marriages, I say, are not arranged. So, right, if you're watching this from a location where they are, this may be different for you. But for the most part, we're free to choose our partner, or so we think. We think I'm free to choose my partner. And in reality, I know that I don't have to be with this person. We can break up and I can hop online and I can start dating and I can pick another partner. Our choice of partner actually is a lot less free than you may think. In reality, there are invisible and unforeseen constraints around who we love, why we love this type of person, and the type of person that we are even attracted to in the first place. If I were to show you my relationship resume, every one, and I laugh about it sometimes because every one of them is so different. There's actually not a type on the outside. You wouldn't see a theme in the type. Some are tall, some are short, some are big, some are small, some have tattoos, some are free from tattoos, some are very, very in shape, and some are slightly overweight. My relationship resume has people of all different shapes, sizes, ethnic backgrounds, languages. I mean, it's all over the place. But there is one common thing, or up until a while ago, was one common theme that was unforeseen. It was almost this invisible force. And that's common, very, very common in people because of what we're going to get into in this video. So when we look back at our relationship resume, it's funny because I cringe. And you may cringe, you may grimace, you may want to crumple that relationship resume up and burn it or throw it in the garbage so that no one ever sees it. When you're thinking, why did I choose that type of person? Why did I choose the people that I did? Whether it was a short term relationship, a long term relationship, a marriage, what have you. They were horrible. They treated me like crap. They didn't appreciate me. They weren't even respectful to me. And I know I deserve better than that. And oftentimes, when I would go complain to my friends, they would tell me, "You deserve better." And I would say, "I know. What's wrong with me? Why do I choose people like this? So when you're trying to figure all of that out, you may look a lot of places, but the one place that you may not look or even think to look in the first place has all the answers as to why. And that very place is your childhood. Your psychological history and your experiences from childhood and from your upbringing, those predispose you to choosing certain and particular types of people, certain and particular types of traits of personality, of ways of being. And it's weird. Why would I look at my childhood to see the answer as to why I choose the people I do? But there's a saying that says you most oftentimes marry one of your parents, and not literally, you don't literally go marry your parents, but you know what I mean. Someone who is like them in one way or another, or often many ways. So we have the capacity to love to the degree and to the extent that we believe we are worthy of being loved. And that is established and rooted in childhood. And we choose partners and we choose lovers based on this belief. And the thing is, it's invisible because it's an unconscious belief. We have conscious thoughts and beliefs. Those are the things that we know we know. Those things that are in our blind spots, though, those are run by these invisible forces or these unconscious beliefs. And those are the very blueprint. And that blueprint is laid, founded, and rooted in childhood, in your upbringing. So when we're looking for partners, when we're looking for lovers, we choose partners, people, and lovers whose love feels most familiar to the love that we received when we were itty bitty, when we were little. And the problem is that if the love that we received in childhood was conditional, meaning there were constraints, that we still follow suit with those. When the love that we received in childhood was conditional, and almost 100% of the time it is, just because of the structure of upbringing, it's very, very rare. Even if a parent says, I love you unconditionally, you mean everything to me, I love you to the moon and back. And they may really desire to and really hope to. And those are the same things I tell my child. So it's not that I don't mean them, it's just that I'm human. And every human has conditions. We have flaws, we have our own problems and struggles. When we're children, we take those things on. Children are like sponges. If you've ever been around children, and you have been because you're watching this, so you were a child at one point around other children, you experience that. It's rare to feel unconditional love. And the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, this love that you're experiencing and that you begin to define, connect with, and equate to is based on circumstances and conditions. So, for example, from a parent to a child felt loved if they were a good girl or a good boy, or if they got good grades, or if they were successful in sports, or whatever their extracurricular activity was. If they were at the top of their class, they were well liked, they were praised if they did well in school, if they were nice to their siblings, if they were nice to their elders, if they didn't talk back, if they did what they were told, etc., then they were told that they were loved and most likely felt loved. So they had to be a certain way to feel love. And the love that you received when you were younger was not likely based completely around having conditions, but chances are it was based around these conditions. It was most likely not based around just being free to be you and free to express yourself in whatever way you felt necessary to do as a child, or around 100% understanding or kindness or compassion or empathy. It was most likely do what you were told, Do this and do it that way because I said so, because I am the adult, because I am the parent, because I am the coach, because I am the teacher. That's why. And as a child, you looked around among other children and you saw that they were doing it that way. And you wanted to fit in, you wanted to be accepted, you wanted to be loved, you wanted to belong. So you thought, okay, I will do it that way. That's the way it is. And when you become an adult and you choose a partner or you choose a lover, you begin to receive the same type of conditional and restrictive love. There's chemicals in your brain and in your body, and there's these neurons that fire off in your mind and your brain and go, ah, this is familiar. I know this. This is love. And so this inner feeling is connected and labeled by your mind as love because it's a feeling that you felt in the past and became programmed as love to you. So when you were too young to know exactly what it was to be controlled or what it was to experience neglect, particularly emotional neglect and abuse, maybe it's emotional abuse, uh, your childlike mind went, well, this is love. And oftentimes, that love that you experienced in childhood was connected to a feeling and a belief that you're not good enough or that you must earn love by way of doing or by way of being. If I do this, I will feel loved. I will receive loved. I will be told that I'm loved. Or if I do this, I can earn love, almost like it's a token that you in exchange that you have to do something to earn it. And then that in your childlike mind went, oh, that equals love. And that there's these certain scores and tallies that are kept. And if there's enough on this side and not as much on this side, oh, that's love. And it began to feel that way. So, for example, if you grew up and you were raised by a parent or a caregiver who struggled with mental health issues, who struggled with narcissistic traits or tendencies or disorders, with anxiety, with depression, with stress, with addictions, or any number of mental or emotional issues, even physical issues, then you were predisposed to being around people who easily took their adult like problems out on you and didn't really feel bad for doing so. And so your childlike mind became programmed to gravitate towards what's familiar. It's just the way it works. It became uh, connected with, oh, this is familiar. And as an adult, we're going to gravitate towards what feels familiar and avoid what doesn't feel familiar because it's unknown. We don't like it. We don't know what's going to happen. So avoid that and move towards this thing that feels familiar, this love as we know it. So you became programmed from your upbringing to feel, well, when there's no drama, this is boring. This isn't love. And this feeling and this belief that you need to struggle or you need to suffer to prove that it's real love. And without these hardships or heartache, this person, this partner doesn't really love you. That there has to be conflict and struggle and an earning of love. Otherwise, if they say, I do love you, you think, you know what, you're just saying that. You don't really, right? Prove it to me. And when you're raised in that type of environment, like we just mentioned, you begin to develop internal beliefs that you need to struggle or suffer in order to feel that the love is real. And without the struggling, without the suffering, without the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs, and with it being boring, we want nothing to do with it unless it has those very familiar traits. Um, we may say, well, I don't want that. I had a horrible childhood and upbringing. But unconsciously, you'll gravitate towards that because it's familiar. You want what you had when you grew up. You want the familiarity. If you grew up in a house full of drama and chaos and conflict, then you gravitate towards that when you're an adult with a partner and you call it love. You can logically say that was horrible. Oh my gosh, I would never ever go back to that. I ran away when I was 16. I got a job. I moved out. I have all these other things on my resume now, But if you look at the horrible partners you've chosen, and the people who you've had adult relationships with, tell me that's not the case, that there's some similarity and that yeah, I can see that it feels familiar. We choose partners who we have to prove ourselves to or whose love we have to earn the same way that we had to earn the love when we were itty bitty, when we were children. And what happens inevitably is we end up repeating the same cycle and the same patterns you've always known because it's all you've known. So it's really common advice and it's horrible advice to receive when you know that you've chosen a person who's not good for you, a narcissist, an abusive partner, a horrible partner, to, go talk to your friends about it or talk to family about it or talk to a counselor or someone else about it. And for that person to say, well, just leave them. You know that you deserve better. You're smart. You're successful. Just go find someone else. Just go look for someone else who's actually the opposite of that this time. Yeah. That's horrible advice because it's so much more than that. If it were just that easy, right? But when you've had a parent and you grew up in an environment where the parent was always angry, where they were never able to be pleased, where they were always raising their voice, you as the child in that situation had to react and behave a certain way around that person. And that became your way of being. So maybe if they were really loud and there were lots of, there was lots of yelling or loud noises, lots of tension, you learn to behave in a certain way in that type of environment. And that way of being, those reactions that you had then is now part of your being and the way that you react to things as an adult. So you learn that when others are angry, when others are reactive, when others are unable to be pleased, it must be your fault. Well, it's maybe you believed it's your fault because it's something you've done or something that you didn't do fast enough or didn't do good enough. And you instantly feel guilty. You instantly feel ashamed. And then to avoid that horrible feeling of guilt, shame, that you're being blamed for something, you go into fix it mode because that's not a good feeling. And you want it to feel better. So you go into fix it mode instantly. And you don't have to sit there and think, you know what? I'm in this mode. I'm going to go into fix it mode. It just happens. It occurs unconsciously. You go into fix it mode and you try to make it so that it isn't so. You try to change it. You try to do whatever you can to please that person or to make it so that they're happy with you instead of disgruntled with you or upset with you, or just so that they're neutral and you don't have to deal with it at all in any way. And you become humble, you become timid, you become quiet, you become scared, you retreat. And all of these number of things that happen, they happen automatically, all in the name of trying to change the situation, because that's what happened when you were a child. And you try and make it more comfortable for yourself and for the other person. You try to calm them down. So you have to try on different things or do certain things in a particular way to calm them down. And when you're doing this, you're reacting from a place of a wounded inner child. And these are more than likely, if you're choosing bad partners for you, the very same things that you're doing in these adult like relationships that you had to do, were made to do, and forced to do in these childlike relationships when you were growing up. Because as a child, you're like a sponge. You soak it all up and you take it all in and you internalize it and you feel that you're deserving of that criticism and you're deserving of those short, quick tempers being taken out on you, especially if you had a parent who was easily hurt or easily offended. You learned as a child, well, I can't say anything because they're just going to go off. It's going to trigger them. They're going to lose it. And when that parent did go off, when they did lose it, and when they did take it out on you, of course, as a child, you were hurt. And as an adult, you may end up with a partner who also has demands that you care for them or that you jump when they tell you to do something, and that you feel like you always are walking on eggshells with them, like you have to do things differently or in a way that satisfies them, or else they're going to go off on you. And maybe you're trying to encourage them, like, hey, I'm not your parent, I'm not your mom, I'm not your dad. and you encourage them like, you're an adult and you can take care of this yourself. I'm not your parent. And when you try and step into that space and remind them, hey, I'm not your mom, I'm not your dad, I don't have to do this for you. I do this for you because I love you. You're met with the same anger and the same rage that you were met with when you were a child and that was happening. Even though all you're trying to do in this relationship, in this partnership, is be encouraging of that person's change. Because you may know, I can't change you for you. You have to want to change, but I'm sick and tired of being treated like this and doing everything for you because you're never happy no matter how many times I do it or what ways I do it. So maybe you're trying to be encouraging of the change in your partner because you know that if that person changes, it can make your relationship better. But you can't ever change or fix another person. But if you're in the space of trying to understand, why do I choose people like this? I'm glad you're here and you're watching this video, and I hope that this is resonating and making sense with you. There are patterns and behaviors that you learned in childhood because of your upbringing, because of your experiences, because of your parents. And many of us don't realize as adults that we're picking partners, we're picking lovers, we're choosing relationships based on our childlike view of ourselves, even though logically we know we're not children anymore. We've grown up, we're a certain age, we have particular responsibilities, right? You got to go to work and we got to raise our own children. But we're picking partners based on our internal beliefs, our inner patterns. We're picking partners based on our own habits, our own behaviors, our own thoughts. And we can say, gosh, I would never marry one of my parents. Are you kidding me? Because there's so much I hate about them. There's so much I can't stand about them. But in many, many ways, you inevitably do. And sometimes, if you're really honest with yourself, you can see that in many ways you're becoming just like your parents, just like those very things that you hated about them. Maybe you're parenting the same way that your parents parented you, even though you swore up and down, when I become an adult, when I'm raising my own children, I will never do that to my children. And then there you are doing it to your own children. In so many ways, you pick partners that are like your parents and you become your parents. So the partner's behaviors can trigger, and so often do trigger, your own childlike defense mechanisms. But depending on the partner, the person that you're with, the answer is not always to end the relationship. Of course, unless there's any real serious or significant or any kind of abuse. If there's abuse, end the relationship, make a plan and get out safely. But if that person is willing to work on themselves and change, yes, they can do that work for them. You can do the work for you. And in another space, you can do work together as well. So the answer isn't always to end the relationship. It can work if both parties are willing to work on it. But there's a lot of things that can be worked out and changed by you working on you, by reprogramming that childlike programming that you're still running off of today and update it. It was installed when you were a child. You're not a child anymore, but you're still running off the programming that was installed when you were. So that inner programming needs updating because you're an adult now. So to work on yourself, you need to reprogram the childlike programming that was installed that you're still running off today and update it to much more positive, much more realistic, and much more rational adult like behaviors. To take the wisdom that you weren't capable of having as a child, that you do have now as an adult, and integrate it and install it into who you are today, into your life, into your actions, into your choices today. So, as an adult, you have so many more resources. You have decades worth of experiences, lessons, and learnings that you didn't have when you were a child. But those learnings and lessons and understandings, they may not be in the right place yet for you to begin working from that place. So when you're ready for that upgrade in your life, that will impact and will influence all areas of your life, I would love to connect with you and talk about rapidly changing. It's like saying you've got the, whatever version of phone you've got, and it looks like it on the outside, brand new phone, but the inner hardware is like one of the very first phones, whatever the Blackberries. It's like the original BlackBerry system that your phone is running off of. Same thing here. And if you're wondering, why do I choose partners that are wrong for me or bad for me? I hope this resonates with you and makes sense. So if or when you are ready to do the inner work on you, knowing that's the only person that can ever change you is you, then I would love to talk to you again about rapid change therapy, about hypnosis, about rapid transformational therapy, all of those things that I'm trained in, and get you very fast, very rapid, and very powerful results in all areas of your life so that you can live the life that's best for you. So thank you for watching this video. There are links in the description to learn more, find out more, and to connect and schedule your free call with me. Thank you guys. Be well, be safe.